Okay. Better late than never.
Day late and so many dollars short.
The most dollars short.
I feel very like we're just winging it right now.
Why?
I don't know. I mean, your iPad is dead, and we have a really loud air conditioner in the background. I don't know. I'm just feeling a little...
out of sorts.
I guess.
You want to turn the air conditioner off?
No, we're in here because it's hot.
You want to turn it down?
It'll still make that noise.
Oh, okay.
There's not a temperature that it makes a different noise.
Well, we'll try to... I don't know. Maybe the noise reduction thing will help.
Maybe.
And yes, my iPad is dead, so I will be reading off of my phone.
Yes.
Which isn't ideal, but it works.
I don't know. I can't do it because of my blindness, and so...
Well, I can do it because of my blindness.
So...
Well, I can't see far away, but I can see just fine up close.
It just stresses me out a little bit.
I haven't quite gotten old enough that my arms aren't long enough.
I haven't quite gotten that old either. I just happen to have plastic things in my eyes that dictate how far away I can see.
You're a granny man.
That's what happens when you have cataract surgery when you're...
5 years old.
Yeah.
Plus 20.
I think I was more like in my early 30s, but...
No, close enough. Anyone under 35 is a child.
Yes.
Well, it's the last week of school.
It needs to just be over.
It's almost over. 2 more days.
But it's a lot of stress right now.
There's been just a flurry of activity. It's just feels like pure chaos.
Everything feels like pure chaos lately, even non-school things.
That's true. It's been a rough couple of weeks.
I'm ready for kitten season to be over. It's sad when kitten season makes you wish that it was winter whenever you just wish it was summertime all the time.
Yes.
And then summertime gets here and it gets ruined by cats and...
Yeah, if any of you out there are just like really good at catching cats, please come catch our cats.
They're not our cats, per se. That's why we can't catch them. They're feral cats that need spayed, and they make our lives a living hell.
Yeah. We need, like, someone... You know how the crocodile hunter used to, like, just leap on top of the crocodiles and, like, wrangle them? We need somebody to do that with the cats.
Yes.
But, yeah. So, I know you've been super bummed out, especially about the kittens and the sick kittens and, you know, all of that.
I'm not done with sick kittens yet.
We're not done with sick kittens yet. So, I found something the other day that I was hoping would bring you a temporary amount of joy.
Oh?
Yes. I did not know this existed before like 2 nights ago.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. I gotta open up my TikTok.
Oh, goodness.
I know, it's gonna be great.
It's like we're youths or something.
We're the youths. No, I don't use Snapchat. TikTok's fine. Okay. It's a Wheel of Fortune. Circa 1998.
Okay.
It is not Lori Vallow.
No.
It's better.
Okay.
Meredith and Zach Bagans from Las Vegas, eh?
Okay.
See, they're already on your side. All right. Let's not milk it, Zach. You're both at UNLV, huh? Well, let's start with Meredith, just because I'd rather.
I'm currently attending UNLV, a full-time student, majoring in communications with an emphasis in advertising.
Yeah, what do you hope? Do you do some modeling, right?
Yes, I do modeling as well.
Yeah, what do you hope to do eventually?
Advertising.
Oh, good. Well, that's why you're studying, of course. I didn't get this job because I'm stupid. Although that was one of the qualifications. Zach is your brother, it says here, and we'd like to hear about you, sir.
I also attend UNLV, communications major, a minoring in film. I'm also a mobile disc jockey here in Las Vegas, perform at weddings, and teach everybody how to do the chicken dance. So we have a lot of fun, so keeps me busy, and it's moving me in my direction.
All right, well, good. And poultry is important. Well, other teams still trying to break.
What happened to him? How did he go from that to what he is now?
And he's, like, so squirrely.
He's, like, scrawny and blonde, and
he's got, like, the Nick Carter haircut.
Yeah.
And he's, like... Hold on, I can't remember because I wasn't looking at it. Is he wearing, like a beige suit?
I think it's gray.
Oh, it's brown. It's black, yeah. But, yeah. And he's, like, all skinny.
Yeah, he's, like, scrawny and blonde and not at all what you think when you think of Zach Bagans.
Not at all. So anyway, I don't know if that audio is going to come out. So if it does not, we just watched a clip on TikTok of Zach Bagans and his sister on an episode of Wheel of Fortune from 1998.
It was special.
It was a very special time in our lives. And I hope that brought you a little bit of levity.
Temporarily.
A temporary
A little bit of confusion. I'm kind of stunned at the moment.
It's really good. He probably was hoping that nobody would ever see that. Or he was hoping that everybody would have seen it. Okay, well, today's story.
We're going to tell a story, and...
That does have nothing to do with Zach Bagans.
No.
No. I don't think he has any part in this story.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well...
So anyway, the first time I think I heard of this story was a day when you had told me find something short because I don't know if my story is going to last the whole episode.
Right.
Which literally could have been any of your stories because you say that every time you write one.
Well, it's because I don't like to do stories that are way too involved because researching stresses me out. And so I usually find stories that don't really have a lot of research on the internet.
Yeah.
And I don't really do it on purpose. It's just like, I'll be like, okay, well, I'll do this, and then there's not a whole lot about it, and...
Well, and it's really funny because... So, I mean, I had probably, like, literally Googled the words, like, short true crime or short mystery stories or something. And at first glance, and if you go strictly off of, like, the first couple of Google results, the information was, like, super limited. Like, even to the point where I was, like, I think even this is, like, too short, like, to supplement.
Yeah.
Like, but then I noticed that there was a, like, 6-part television series that was about this, and I was like, well, if somebody has, like, 6+ hours of, like, film... There's got to be more to it.
Well, and that's how I was about the Betty and Barney Hill story, because I was like, they made a documentary, like, movie thing about this, so surely there's enough information out there that I can get, 30 minutes out of it.
Right. And so then I was like, well, I'll put it on the back burner, I'll look into it, but then the series was on, like, Peacock or something, and that was one of the streaming services that I put on the chopping block this year.
Yes.
And so I was like, well, maybe someday. And then I was on Twitter or Threads or something one day and saw that there had been, like, new information about this story. I was like, well, okay, well, that's kind of interesting. And then I went to the library one day and I was doing something completely different. I don't even remember what I was doing at the library that day, but, like, right there by the desk, they have, that little, like, table where they set up, like, like, not a series, but, like, a theme or whatever. And it was, like, a true crime theme. And there was a book about this case.
Yeah.
I was like, somebody wrote a whole book about it. Like, there's a whole, like, 6-part series about it. Like, there's got to be more to it. So, I finally looked into it. So, I read the book. I watched the series because Amber gave me her login information to Peacock, and I listened to various podcasts about this, so I possibly have done the most research on this that I've done since we did Dina Lynn Gore, because it was a whole lot of information. And it's not even all of the information, because there is a whole podcast dedicated to this story that has, like, 150 episodes.
Yeah.
I did not listen to all 150 episodes. I think I've listened to 8 of them. So, anyway, let's get into this. So, February 9th, 2004, you're a senior in high school. Remember those days?
Vaguely.
Okay. Well, 21-year-old nursing student Maura Murray crashes her car into a snowbank in an area of Haverhill, New Hampshire called Woodsville at about 7:30 p.m. After speaking with a local bus driver who stopped to ensure that she was okay, and before the police can arrive at the scene, less than maybe 10 minutes later, Maura vanished and has never been seen or heard from again.
Okay.
So,
she was got by the abominable snowman.
Well, you know, it's funny, like, we throw back a little bit, or a call back, I guess is the correct term for this. Where she went missing was, like, 30 miles from the Barney and Betty Hill abduction site. And so, like, that's, like, an outlier theory about what happened to her, but people are like, well, it's pretty close to the Barney and Betty Hill thing, so.
Yeah.
But that's not really what the case is about. So, we're going to back up, and we're going to talk about who Maura is or was, and what led to the event, and then we'll talk about theories and the new evidence. So, Maura Murray was born May 4th, 1982, so she's my age, in Brockton, Massachusetts, to Fred and Lori Murray. Brockton is a suburb south of Boston. She was the fourth of fifth children. Fifth. I'm already doing a fantastic job.
The fourth of fifth children.
The fourth of fifth children. The fourth of five children. Her parents divorced when she was 6, and while her mother had primary custody of her, she had a pretty close relationship with her dad. She was very athletic, and Fred would pick her up and take her to practices and games and meets, and they went hiking a lot and camping a lot and stuff. Maura attended Whitman Hanson Regional High School, and by the time she left, she and her sisters held, like, every sports record at the school.
Okay.
So not us.
No. The exact opposite of us.
Exact opposite of us. I was, you know, on the soccer team when we were running around like the ladybugs out there, so not us. Maura was on she was the starting point guard for the varsity basketball team as a freshman, and I'm not like a basketball person, but I think that's kind of like the quarterback of the basketball team.
Probably.
I think that's the person that everybody wants to be.
Maybe.
She also played lacrosse and softball, but I think that it seemed where she really excelled was as a runner. She ran cross country and track. She was selected as Boston Globe All-Scholastic and qualified for the U.S. Nationals. She was also super smart. She scored a 1420 on her SAT. 1600 is perfect. 1210 puts you in like the top 25% of test takers, so she was pretty high up there.
Yeah.
And I think she graduated like 4th in her class. So she's a smarty pants too. Because of her superior athletic abilities and her grades, she basically had her pick of colleges. And she accepted a congressional nomination and went to West Point, where her older sister Julie was already attending.
Okay.
I think some of her friends really questioned this choice because it just seemed like really stuffy and rigorous to go to a military school.
I was going to say, that's a military school.
It is, yeah. But Julie, one of her sisters, would write to her all the time telling her how great it was and imploring her to go to school there so that they could be on the track team together again. So while she was at West Point, she was majoring in chemical engineering and was keeping up with her running. She was on the cross country and track teams here as well. And here's where the story starts becoming less storybook. In an interview from The Independent, Julie said that Julie, loved the physical aspect of West Point. Like, she liked the running, she liked the push-ups, she liked like the structure of the school. But Maura apparently did not seem to love it once she was there.
Yeah.
And Julie tells a story that one night she attempted to sneak some snacks to Maura, which was like verboten in the program. And she found Maura just like bawling in her room because she was so unhappy being there. So this was kind of the first instance where Julie realized that Maura possibly didn't love West Point.
Maybe it wasn't for her.
So West Point's in New York. And I think I kind of knew that.
I know it's over there.
Yeah, it's over there. I think I kind of knew it was in New York. Fort Knox is in Kentucky. I did not know Fort Knox was in Kentucky. Did you know Fort Knox was in Kentucky?
I don't know that I've ever questioned where Fort Knox is.
Yeah, and I think this is like my ridiculous brain association thing that anything that sounds like Knox is in Tennessee.
Yeah.
So not Fort Knox, Knoxville, Knott's Berry Farm. Only one of those is in Tennessee.
Yes.
So, in Maura's second summer at West Point, she was at Fort Knox for training, and this girl got caught stealing like $5 of makeup from the commissary.
How dare
from
you?
Fort Knox, which is like the most secure facility in the country. It was like lip gloss or something. Mm-hmm. Like, it wasn't even that big of a deal. I mean, it was a big deal that she stole. Like, she shouldn't have stole, but like, it was stupid. Like, it just seems like a dumb decision. And even, like, when Julie asked her why she did it, Maura responded, "I don't even know. I had the money." And so, maybe this was her acting out. Maybe it was her trying to get caught and kicked out. Like,
why were they at Fort Knox?
Just for, like, training. Because I guess, military stuff.
Okay.
Because I wondered the same thing, but it just said that she and other cadets were at Fort Knox for training.
Okay.
So, because I thought the same thing, because I was like, but she was at West Point. Why, like, it didn't, but I think it was just like a training trip or something. Okay. But, yeah, so possibly it was just her way of like, maybe this will give me an excuse to not be here anymore. I don't know. So she had to go through this honor committee hearing thing, and they had put her on some kind of probation where she had to like march back and forth across this field in full dress uniform for like hours at a time, like in all weather, and she was missing track meets, and she was missing like lectures, and she was missing all the stuff, and so like she just this made her even more unhappy. And before the honor committee like gave their final decision about whether or not she was kicked out of school, she chose to leave. She transferred to the University of Massachusetts at Amherst, and she enrolled in the nursing program, which apparently is like a pretty rigorous program there. Like, I hear nursing school, and here it's like every girl we went to high school with went to nursing school. But at UMass, I guess they have kind of like a rigorous nursing program, and it's a big deal to be part of it. She withdrew from West Point officially January 2nd, 2002, so I'm not sure if she went immediately into UMass, because it would have been like the beginning of the spring semester, or if she waited and started in the fall. I never really saw anything that clarified that, but either way, she seemed to be thriving at UMass. She had a couple of jobs. She worked as a part-time campus security guard and at the UMass Art Gallery. She wasn't running competitively there, but she was still keeping up with like her training or like her exercise regimen. While she was at West Point, she had started dating a boy named Billy Roush, and he was from Ohio, and they stayed together even after she left West Point. And from everything that I've read and heard, she seemed to be doing fine academically. I don't know that she was... I guess I had learned this after I wrote this down, because I have here that I didn't know that she was formally involved in any sports at UMass. But I did read later that she was not competitive while she was there. Yeah. So...
She had enough of that.
Yeah. But again, things start being maybe not so storybook again. So in November of 2003, a girl who lives in the same dorm starts noticing weird charges for food on her credit card bill and reports it to the police. And she still has the card, so it's like someone just has her credit card number and is like charging food, like delivery, like to have food delivered somewhere.
Okay.
And it's like, because it's from a bunch of like pizza and Italian places, sub places, like around campus. And so I guess in the course of this investigation, the police notify all of the restaurants that had been charged. And one night, I think it was a pizza place, calls the police department and says that an order just came in using the stolen credit card number. So the police tell them to go through with the order, and then the police go with the delivery driver to where they're delivering the pizza to. and it's Maura. So, the police are like, hi, this isn't your card. Where did you get this card number from?
Yeah.
And she says that she found a receipt somewhere and she copied down the number.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I don't think that at this point in time I was really using credit card or debit cards, because this was still kind of like that transition period where people were going from like cash and checks to debit cards. So I don't really remember this, but I guess entire credit card numbers used to be printed on receipts.
Okay.
Which I would say seems wild, but, you know, we used to have the, like, machines where you, like,
yeah,
the entire impression of the card. And even still, like, entire account numbers are written on your check, so I guess it's not so weird, especially, like, in that, like, new transition time where like, people are figuring these things out. So, anyway, she doesn't get arrested, but she does have to go to court on December 16th, 2003, where the judge basically tells her that if she can stay out of trouble for either 3 or 6 months, I read it both ways, that he'll take this off of her record. I think that's a pretty good deal, considering she was literally caught stealing red-handed.
Right.
For the second time. And as far as I could tell, she didn't tell her family about this bout of trouble. I don't know if she told her boyfriend, but it doesn't seem like her family knew about it.
Okay.
So, now we're going to fast forward a couple of months to February 2004, to the next significant incident. So, and this is actually the last weekend where anyone had any contact with Maura that we know of. So it's Thursday, February 5th, and Maura was working at her security guard position. And from what I could tell from various sources, her job was to sit at the security desk at Melville Hall, which was one of the freshman dorm buildings at the university, and check IDs of people coming into the building to see if they were residents or have visitors sign in. So just don't let strangers into the building. Yeah. She had been on shift for a few hours, and it seems like someone, maybe like the larger supervisor, had told her direct supervisor, hey, you might want to go check on Maura. She's been crying. She seems kind of upset. And so it's like 1 a.m. and the supervisor finds Maura, like, catatonic. Like, she's just sitting at the desk, like, staring straight ahead. She's not crying. She's just, like, staring, and she's not answering any questions. The supervisor's like, hey, what's going on? What's the matter? What happened? And she's just, like, not answering her. She's just, like, staring.
That sounds normal.
Right? And all she can finally get out of her is the words, my sister. And so, I should have written it down. I think the supervisor's name was Karen. But while they're there, she sees, like, a group of people come into the dorm, and Maura doesn't even acknowledge them. Like, she just lets them go into the thing. And so the supervisor's like, clearly you can't do your job right now. And so tells her, you can go home. But then Maura's still sitting there staring. And so the supervisor's like, well, I'll pick up your stuff. And she's not being mean to her. She's like, she's actually very concerned about her. Yeah. Because she's like, this girl's showing, like, depressive qualities, and, like, there's something clearly very wrong with her. And so she starts packing up her stuff, and then she walks her to her dorm room, and she's like, hey, do you want me to come in? Do you want, can I stay with you? Do you want to talk? Is there anything I can do for you? Anything like that. And Maura just tells her, no, my roommate's here. I'll be fine.
Right.
Fun fact, she did not have a roommate. And so I lost my place because I kind of went rogue with that. Okay, here we go. So then the next day, there was like a big snowstorm that shut down the campus. And the supervisor has gone on like in interviews and said that she was really glad for the snowstorm because she thought, good, this will give Maura a break. Like, she doesn't have to go to class. She can just kind of chill, whatever. So for a long time, people didn't really know what she meant by my sister. And there was a lot of speculation going around that she had a phone call from one of her sisters, and in past interviews, her oldest sister, Kathleen, said that she did speak with Maura at like 10 or 10:30 that night, but it didn't seem particularly deep or anything, that they just talked about normal stuff, and that they always talked at night, you know, and so she didn't understand why that would have caused her to have that reaction. But that 6-part series that I mentioned a minute ago, they were able to interview Kathleen, and she told them a story that she had been in rehab for alcohol abuse.
Okay.
And that the night that she got out of rehab, her husband, who sounds like an absolute winner, picked her up and drove her straight to the liquor store. And that Kathleen told this story to Maura that night on the phone.
Okay.
And so, like, the girl interviewing, like, that's the investigator for the series, is like, well, you know, that, you know, maybe she was really worried about you. Like, I think I would be worried if my sister told me that story, you know?
Right.
Another thing that I literally just listened to a couple of hours ago, so it's not written in my notes, is that there was another phone call made that nobody ever mentions between, like, 12:10 and 12:20 or something like that in the morning, that was to her boyfriend. And that was also before she was found, like, catatonic at the desk, and so you know, nobody knows what happened there. So this was,
they didn't interview the boyfriend.
So I'm gonna talk a little bit about that later. Everybody is, like, super secretive about this whole thing. Like, nobody talks about anything. And so that, I think that causes a lot of, like, people's theories and speculations and things, because everybody around her, like family, boyfriend, friends, nobody will talk. And so, like, I think that leads to a lot of, like, you know, does somebody know where she's at or what happened to her? So
that doesn't seem suspicious at all.
Right. So, Saturday morning, Fred Murray, Maura's father, comes to visit Maura at Amherst. And as far as anyone knows, this has nothing to do with how she behaved at work. It was just like a regular visit. But he was coming to help her buy a new car. She had been driving a 1996 Saturn, which wasn't that old in 2004.
No.
It was like 8 years old. But Fred said that it was on its last leg, that it had blown a gasket, and so that they needed to find her a new car. And so in an interview, he said that because of his ATM limit, he had stopped at various ATMs and withdrawn a total of $4,000. And that the $4,000, that he and Maura had gone and shopped all day for a car, but the $4,000 wasn't enough or something for whatever car they were looking at or whatever. And so he was going to come back at a later date with more money, and so that they didn't get her a car that day. Fred took Maura and a friend to dinner at a local brew pub where they had supper. In his Boston accent, I can't say it right because Boston accents are crazy, but and they had some drinks, and then as the girls I wrote the sentence funny. I listened to a podcast called Red Handed, but the girls that do the podcast Red Handed, they said that Fred did the cool dad move and allowed Maura to take his brand new car to the dorm party. And we're like, why would he do that? Because she had already had a couple of drinks.
Right.
And would be going to a college party.
To have at least a couple more.
Right. And depending on the source, Fred may or may not have even taken the girls to a liquor store to purchase more alcohol for this party.
Yeah.
And then they dropped him off at his hotel and they went to the party. So Maura leaves the party, I've seen, like, between, like, 2:30 and 3:30 in the morning. And this girl crashes her dad's new car into a guardrail.
So, well, we all saw that coming.
Yeah. The Missing Maura Murray podcast says that it was like a 3-way intersection, And so, like, she was at a stop sign where you had to either turn left or right, and right ahead was a guardrail. That's the direction she chose to go.
She chose to go her own way.
Yes. Yes. So, somehow, though, Maura doesn't get busted for drunk driving. So maybe she sweet-talked the cop who showed up, or maybe cops in college towns look the other way a lot, but she doesn't get busted. Which is probably a good thing, considering she's on probation for her credit card fraud, and she's not supposed to be getting into any trouble. And the tow truck driver gives Maura a ride to her father's hotel. Fred claims he doesn't know that Maura was even there until he woke up the next morning, so I don't know if she had, like, the extra key to his room, or if the hotel let her in, or what. But also, after she arrived in the room, she used her father's cell phone to call her boyfriend Billy, who is stationed in Oklahoma. I don't know if she reached him, because everyone in this case, like I said, is super secretive about almost everything leading up to her disappearance, but she called him. And a lot of people are like, well, why did she use her dad's cell phone? Well, hers could have been dead.
Yeah.
You know, she could have left it in the car whenever she crashed it. Like, who knows? So, the girls who do Red-Handed said that they were kind of under the impression that Fred was being cooled out again and wasn't upset about the wreck.
Right.
In the Oxygen series, Fred did say that he was upset, but how upset, I guess, is between him and Maura from Fred's interview. So Fred said that he could tell that Maura was upset and ashamed and disappointed in herself and was worried that she had disappointed him. And so he took the position of, things happen, it'll get fixed, I mean, the insurance will take care of it, no one got hurt, everything's going to be okay. But again, you know, sometimes also, like, I think when you look back on things like, you know, like his daughter disappeared, like, he might be sugarcoating things because he doesn't want to be seen as, like, the last thing I did was yell at my daughter or whatever. So Fred rented a car. He drove back to Connecticut, where he was living at the time. Monday morning, February 9th, Fred and Maura spoke on the phone, and he reminded her that she needed to go pick up, like, the incident report papers or something that he needed for insurance. And they had made plans to call later that evening to discuss the information needed to fill them out after she got them. Also, during the day, Maura used good old MapQuest to look up directions to Stowe, Vermont, and also searched for rentals in the White Mountains area of New Hampshire. And she was familiar with these areas because she and the family went hiking and camping in the White Mountains frequently. She and her dad, like, I think even just a few months before, had gone to Stowe and Burlington, and so this was all familiar area to her. She emailed Billy, her boyfriend, at 1:30 p.m. saying that she didn't really feel like talking, but she would call him later. She called a nursing student friend that she was doing clinicals with to ask about returning some clothes or scrubs or something that she had borrowed. She called a hotline for hotel information in Stowe, Vermont. She tried to call Billy but got his voicemail. She went online, she submitted her homework, and then she emailed all of her professors and her bosses at the security office in the art gallery to tell them that there had been a death in the family and that she would be gone for a week. There wasn't a death in the family.
No death.
Neither hers nor Billy's. And so then, according to ATM footage, at 3:40 p.m., she went to the bank and withdrew $280, which basically depleted her bank account, and went to a liquor store, perhaps not a great idea, where she purchased about $40 worth of liquor. I think I read that it was Bailey's. Creamy. Kahlua and vodka and a box of red wine. And then presumably she hit the road heading north to New Hampshire.
Okay.
Phone records show that she called to check her messages on her dorm phone at 4:37. The Missing Maura Murray podcast kind of made a big deal out of this, and they were like, what's the psychology of this? And I was like, the psychology was that it was 2004 and she was calling to check her messages.
Yeah.
There probably wasn't any more to it than that. I mean, there could have been.
Yeah, but
it probably was literally just her, because we used landlines still, so our cell phones weren't what they are today.
Yeah. All of our messages and communications and whatnot were not accessible in our hands back then.
Yeah, because even when I was in college, like 2004, 2005, and I had my dorm landline, like I had a actual phone in my dorm room. So yeah. All right. So at 7:27 p.m., Faith Westman, a resident of Woodsville, New Hampshire. Okay. 2 things about Woodsville, New Hampshire. 1, I was confused because everyone talks about her wrecking in Haverhill, and so I was trying to understand it. I think Woodsville is like a part of Haverhill, like a big neighborhood, or maybe like a township-y kind of thing.
Okay.
I don't know. 2, the red-handed podcasters are British. And they were, like, making fun of the name Woodsville and the names of American towns. I think it was, like, how obvious, like, of a name you could pick for a place in the woods or something. But, like, I was listening to it, I was like, have you heard of some of the crazy British town names?
Yeah.
And also, I assume Clacton-on-Sea and Saltburn by the Sea are literally by the sea.
Yes.
So, Woodsville doesn't seem that strange. But maybe that's also because I'm American.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It was just, it struck me funny when I was listening to it because I was like, what's wrong with Woodsville?
Right.
But I was like, you literally have a town called Ottery St. Catchpole.
Yeah.
They don't, it's not real.
No.
There is a town that was called, like, Dull.
There's lots of odd names over there.
Yeah, there are. Alright. There's that one town that, like, nobody can pronounce. That's like 37 letters long.
The one that's in Wales.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then there's that one that, like, has a sign, like, the thing underneath it that says, be careful how you pronounce it. Yeah. Okay. So
or,
anyway.
like, to make sure to read it slowly or whatever.
Uh-huh. Yes, because it would be really easy to say some not very nice words whenever you read it. Yeah. Okay, so back on track. Faith Westman calls the police to report an accident that's basically across from her house on Route 112. A black Saturn had crashed into a snowbank. There's like a really sharp turn in the road. It's like a 90-degree turn. And she states that she sees a woman outside of the car and a man in the car smoking a cigarette. At 7:43, so this is like less than 10 minutes. Oh, no, 20 minutes? I don't remember what time I said. So, okay, so like 15 minutes later. A bus driver named Butch Atwood is driving his bus home from work. I didn't know that bus drivers took their buses home from work, but this guy does.
Yeah, I thought that they, like, dropped them off at, like, a place where the buses slept.
Well, Butch doesn't. Butch takes his bus home. He sees this girl standing outside of her wrecked car, and he stops, and he asks her if she's okay. And she says yes. She's a little shaken up, but she's okay. He asks if he can call the police for her, and she says something like, please don't, I've already called AAA. And he knows that she's lying and couldn't possibly have called AAA because there's 0 cell service. But he says okay, and he heads home, which is literally like 100 feet past where her car is crashed. He parks, he goes inside, he asks his wife to call the police to report the accident, and then says that he goes back out to his bus to fill out his paperwork for his day's work. The police arrive at 7:46 p.m., which is literally 3 minutes later, and they find the car locked and nobody's there. So, like, 3 minutes.
Yeah.
She's gone.
Sorry, I was reading inappropriate British town names. Because I know there's many.
There are many. I know, I looked it up too.
And so I was just like, they need to take a step back.
That's right. Woodsville is not so bad.
It's no Crapstone.
That's right. Or, I don't know, there were so many.
There were so many worse ones. But that's why I'm just stopping with Crapstone.
Okay. So, anyway. Girl disappears in like 3 minutes. As far as the physical aspect of the wreck, it looked like Maura had spun around. Mm-hmm. It was February in New Hampshire, so there's snow.
Yes. It's slippery.
Yeah. And she hit a snowbank tree kind of situation right there on that corner. And her car was facing the wrong direction, so it was like her car had like spun completely around. There was a crack on the driver's side windshield. I think I read or watched or something that seemed like it was from the inside out. But when Butch Atwood talked to her, she didn't look like she had a head injury, and she wasn't acting like she had a head injury, so I don't know. The hood of the car was kind of pushed up and in, and the airbags had been deployed.
Okay.
Initially, the police didn't consider this a missing persons case. I think really because of the alcohol that they found in the car.
Right.
The responding officer said that when he looked through the window of the car and then like right around the car, he saw red liquid spilled everywhere, which was the box of wine that she had purchased before her drive. It's kind of commonplace now. There was an empty Diet Coke bottle that was found in the car that smelled like wine, and so they think she was probably drinking wine while she was driving up there, and then when she got into her accident, it probably
Poor
went
girl
everywhere.
doesn't learn lessons.
She doesn't seem to learn lessons, no. But I guess it seems kind of common that, at least here, I don't know, I mean, in New Hampshire, I don't know about everywhere, but that people, when they drive drunk and like have a wreck or something, that they'll disappear from the scene and then like show up the next day, like kind of like it's better to ask forgiveness or whatever, you know, like I've sobered up, now can I have my car back or whatever. And so that's kind of what they think that it is at first. They're like, you know, they didn't want to get caught driving drunk, so they just ran away. So they searched the immediate area and didn't see anyone or any footprints leading into the woods. A state trooper came by to see if he could assist, and he drove a little ways away looking for any signs of anyone. He didn't see anyone. They had her car towed to a local garage. There's some people that find this shady because they said that it said somewhere that it was towed to the tow driver's personal garage and he was told to lock it up, and some people think that there was some kind of police cover-up, but like this is literally the backwoods of New Hampshire, and being from the backwoods of New Mexico, this doesn't seem nefarious because like there's so many tow places that are just like one-man operations, you know, so like he probably does tow stuff to his house. He probably has like a big garage that he can tow stuff to, so like I didn't see anything weird about that. So the next morning, and I don't know if it was just that no one came to claim the car or what they found in the car, but they finally decided to treat this as a missing persons case. At about noon, police issued a bolo for Maura to the towns in the immediate area, and at 3:20 p.m. a voicemail was left for Fred Murray at his house, letting him know that his car, which was Maura Saturn, was found abandoned after an accident near Woodsville, New Hampshire. Fred was at work, and I don't know if it was Kathleen or Julie. I just saw that his daughter heard the message on his machine and called at about 5 p.m. and called Fred at work to let him know. He calls the New Hampshire police right back. He asked them to start searching for her, like, right now. It's like, please get out there and start trying to find her. But it was late in the day. I mean, like, it's already, like, 5 p.m. It's February. The sun's probably already down. But they said that if she didn't turn up that evening, they'd start the search the following morning. Fred or his daughters call UMass and ask them to check Maura's dorm room, where they found her belongings all packed in boxes. Now, there are many sources that think that this means that she packed up and was planning on not returning. But I think it was on the Oxygen series, made a good point that it was early in the semester and she may just not have unpacked her boxes yet. You know, because like I know that if it was me, those boxes would still be packed on move out day.
Yes.
So it probably was that. But what they did find in her car, her AAA card was sitting on the seat, so she probably did try to call AAA, but she couldn't get a signal. The insurance forms that she was supposed to pick up for her dad were in the car, so she did stop and pick those up. There was a pair of gloves, her CDs, makeup, the MapQuest directions to Burlington and Stowe, Vermont, her school books, the box of wine, a favorite stuffed animal, toiletries, birth control, jewelry, and some clothes, including her running gear. Her cell phone and her wallet were not in the car. And so at this point, everyone heads to New Hampshire, including Billy flying from Oklahoma. So Billy's mom, Sharon Roush, was interviewed for the episode of Disappeared, and she says that he called her upset, saying that when he was going through airport security, he missed a call, and the voicemail sounded like breathing, sniffling, and like sobbing. And he was like short as Maura. Mm-hmm. And so he tried to call the number back, but it had come from a prepaid calling card. Remember those guys?
Yeah.
Sharon agrees that it probably was Maura calling because at Christmas she had given Maura some prepaid calling cards. Mm-hmm. But that's it. Like, there was never any other communication from her. The official search led by New Hampshire Fish and Game began at 8 a.m. on Wednesday, February 11th. So she's been gone for like 36 hours at this point. And they conducted searches by ground and air. The helicopters were equipped with FLIR, which is forward-looking infrared. It's a thermal imaging camera, and so it should have been able to detect a human if, you know. So they also brought in a bloodhound and had it use one of the gloves that they found in the car. The dog tracked the scent, like, down the road about 100 yards east of where the car was found, and then like abruptly lost the scent. Mm-hmm. And so the official search lasted 4 months, and no trace of Maura was ever found. Like, they didn't find her cell phone, her backpack. Yeah. I mean, if she had her backpack, because there was one source where I saw her backpack wasn't in the car, but I don't know if her backpack was ever in the car.
Right.
So the 4 options for what might have happened to Maura are: she ran away and started a new life. Mm-hmm. She got lost in the woods and succumbed to the elements.
Right.
She committed suicide, or she was met with foul play. Mm-hmm. And so there are so many theories. Like, that's what this entire case is, I think, is just
all the theories.
All of the theories about what happened to this girl. These are not going to be in any particular order. I'm just going to kind of go through them after I fall over. Okay. So, first was suicide.
Right.
Okay. So, the first issue with this is that when Fred was called and told that Maura was missing, he made a comment to the police that she probably did the squaw walk. And the police were like, "Huh?
The who?"
And he was like, like when a Native American steps off the trail to die. Mm-hmm. And he does say that he regrets ever making that comment because he doesn't actually believe that Maura would go and kill herself.
Right.
But, I mean, I think that kind of, like, jump-started it. Plus, going through all of the things she was going through leading up to her disappearance.
Yeah, I mean, she was going through a lot. Mm-hmm. Her mental health didn't seem like it was in the greatest of places.
No. And she had, like, the credit card problems. She... if she had been found to have a DUI, she might have been suspended from the nursing program at school and may never have been able to work in a hospital. There's some speculation that even though she and Billy were, like, talking about getting married, that she had found out that he was cheating on her. On that Oxygen series, they interviewed one of Maura's friends from nursing school, the one that she was going to return the scrubs to. Mm-hmm. And she thinks suicide is definitely not an option because Maura turned in her homework before she left.
Yeah.
And she was like, why would you bother turning in your homework if you were planning on suicide? Right. Like, that seems like the last thing you would care about. Sharon Roush, who's Billy's mom, also pointed out that Maura had taken her school books with her when she left Amherst and her running gear. And, like, they believe that she was just going up there to get away for a few days. So, I didn't write this down because I didn't really, like, think it was a thing until I was listening to the Missing Maura Murray podcast earlier, and they were interviewing another guy who's kind of been, like, obsessive about the case. But the night that she was found catatonic at her job, there was a college student who had been hit by a car and, like, a hit and run.
Right.
And he lived, but he was in a coma for, like, a long time. And when he woke up, like, he didn't know what had happened to him or where he was or anything like that. And, I mean, like, months he was in a coma. But they've never figured out who did it. And there's a lot of speculation that Maura did it. That, because they found this guy at, like, 12:30 or something a.m. There was that phone call to Billy that was between, like, 12:10 and 12:20. And this guy got hit by the car less than a mile away from her job. And she was at work at the time, but, like, it is possible that, like, maybe she went on break and was talking to Billy. Maybe she got distracted. Maybe she hit this guy. Because another theory is that the damage on her car from hitting the snowbank isn't consistent with hitting the snowbank.
Right.
And that also that Fred knew about this, and that's why he, like, ran to Amherst that weekend to buy her a new car, because there's lots of people, like, surrounding her, like, her friends and stuff, that said, we never heard her talk about buying a new car. Like, we didn't know that her car was on its last leg. Like, we don't, like, you know, that wasn't ever something that she talked about.
Right.
And so it was weird that all of a sudden they're like, you know, Maura's car is basically dead and she needs a brand new car right this second.
Yeah.
And that maybe that's also why Fred let her drive his car to the party, because they were trying to keep her car out of view.
Out of the public.
Like, you know, where nobody could see it. There's also some speculation as far as, like, her starting a new life and all. I didn't write this down, but I'll get to that in a minute. That, because people are, like, they think it's weird that he took out the $4,000 in cash from various ATMs instead of, like, just going to his bank and getting $4,000 out, or writing a check to a car dealership or whatever. That maybe he was giving her that money to run away.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So, because then they're like, well, what happened to the money? Now, on the Oxygen series, Fred did say that he put the money back into his account.
Yeah.
But everybody's so secretive, so there's just no telling. Alright, so the next theory is just getting lost. So the police have suggested that because she was probably drunk when she crashed, that she might have hid in the woods until the police left the scene, and that it was completely dark out there. She might have got turned around, or she even could have passed out and just succumbed to the elements. To me, that just seems unlikely that she got so far away that the searches didn't come up with anything.
They didn't come up with remains or anything.
And even, like, cadaver dogs and bloodhounds and stuff didn't find her if that was the case.
Right.
Alright, so starting a new life. And this seems to be one of the biggest ones, that people really believe that this girl, like, planned this and ran away. Whether she told her family or not, like, whether Fred was in on it because she had hit this guy with her car, or because she was going through all of this other stuff and just made the decision to run away and not tell anybody, whatever. But this seems to be, like, a pretty prevalent theory. So I told you I read a book about it, and it's called True Crime Addict: How I Lost Myself in the Mysterious Disappearance of Maura Murray. It is written by a true crime author named James Renner. This book has become, like, contentious, apparently. The Murray family, like, hates James Renner.
Okay.
They didn't want him to write the book. They didn't want to have anything to do with him. And he's like, I don't understand why you wouldn't want as much publicity as humanly possible. And, you know, but Fred, like, flat out refused to talk to him. Fred won't talk to the guys who do the Missing Maura Murray podcast because they've talked to James Renner. Like, and apparently Fred Murray, like, called around and told everybody in Maura's life, don't talk to this guy. And, like, so everything that he's come up with, and he runs, like, a blog about it and stuff, he's still, like, researching her case.
Yeah.
Like, all of these years later. But anyway, so he wrote this book. He truly believes that this is what happened, that she ran away.
Yeah.
He thinks that she was running away from Fred and Billy.
Okay.
So he never comes right out and says it, but he kind of dances around the idea that Fred may have abused Maura. Fred vehemently denies that there was any abuse. That, you know, Maura was his best friend and you know, that just was ridiculous, and that, you know, he can't believe that anybody would even accuse him of that. He also brings up Billy's infidelity and possible assault of women in recent years, like as an adult man. These are all alleged incidents. None of this has ever been proved. So Renner's book has, like I said, caused a lot of contention with the family. He was interviewed by the Missing Maura podcast. I listened to that episode earlier too, and he said he called Maura a sociopath, and he really believes that she manipulated all the people around her and then skipped town, that she's just gone.
Wow.
And but he's done a lot of independent investigations, and he's spoken with people because he thinks that she ran away to Canada.
Okay.
And so he's spoken with people in Canada who believe that they have seen Maura. Mm-hmm. There was a lady at a record store or something that said that she was positive that she had seen Maura, but then when the investigative journalist for the Oxygen series interviewed the same lady and then showed her age progression photos, she was like, no, maybe it wasn't. Maybe
not as sure as I was.
Yeah. And there have been no official sightings to corroborate their stories, but yeah, so he's just positive that she ran away.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's the idea that Maura met some bad guys.
Yeah.
And to me, this seems like the most plausible, idea. You know, she could have run out there and, committed suicide. She wasn't in a great mental state, but I just, I don't know. I mean, I guess she could have got far enough away that they wouldn't have been able to find her in the wilderness. I mean, lots of people have done that, but it just seems, I don't know. This just seems like the most plausible idea to me.
Right.
So people speculate that because the bloodhound tracked her scent only 100 yards from the car, that the most likely explanation is that someone picked her up. Mm-hmm. And James Renner theorizes that this indicates that there was a tandem driver situation, that someone was driving along with her and picked her up and helped her run away.
Okay.
However, to me, it's more likely that someone came across her stranded on the road and picked her up and something more nefarious happened.
Right.
So one weird thing about her car was that there was a rag stuffed in her tailpipe. And a theory about this is that when she stopped for gas before she turned onto Route 112, off of the interstate, that someone put the rag in her tailpipe and then followed her, waiting for the car to break down so they could snatch her. Mm-hmm. However, this theory, I think, has mostly been debunked. For one, on that Oxygen series, they had a mechanic show them what would happen, and the car just, blows the rag out of the tailpipe after a little while. And then, second, Fred actually told the police that he told her to put the rag in the tailpipe.
Yeah.
Which I would think was not a good idea.
No, that doesn't sound like something that you would give someone advice to do.
But his reasoning, if I'm understanding this correctly, was that because the car had blown the head gasket or some kind of gasket, that it was putting off a lot of black exhaust. Uh-huh. And he was worried that she was going to get pulled over by the cops for polluting the air before they were able to get her a new car. And so he had told her to put the rag in the tailpipe to cut back on the exhaust coming out of it.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a thing.
I don't either.
But I'm also not a car guy.
Mm-mm.
So
to me, that just doesn't sound like a very good idea.
No, it doesn't. Another theory along these lines is that it's called the Loon Mountain 3.
Okay.
So nearby is a mountain called Loon Mountain, and there's a ski resort. And there were 3 young men who were supposed to be at work that night and never showed up. And some people think that possibly they followed her, they saw her at the gas station and then they followed her. Or that maybe they met her at the gas station and asked her to go to a party or something with them, and then something bad happened. Either she OD'd at the party or that the boys killed her.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've ever identified or interviewed these people
The three?
The three. Because it's very specific that there's three of them.
Mm-hmm.
So there's also a pretty large contingent that think that the bus driver, Butch Atwood, had something to do with her disappearance. He moved to Florida after the accident, and I don't necessarily think that proves guilt. New Hampshire is cold, and he was an old guy. But they think that his story changed a couple of times. At one point, he told the police that she wasn't drunk when he talked to her. Another time, he said that she was slurring her words when he talked to her. I don't know how else his story changed, but I've read that his story changed a few times. Others think that even if he didn't do something to her directly, that because he could see her from his house, that he knows who did do something and is covering for them. But he's died since then, and so there's no telling. There was another story of a woman who passed by the accident before the official police report states that the police had shown up, that said that she saw a police cruiser nose to nose with Maura's car, but there was nobody like around. She didn't see the police or Maura, but the cruiser was like parked nose to her car.
Yeah.
But the police say that didn't happen, but they're like, well, that could have been a police cover-up, and the podcasters from the Missing Maura Murray podcast, at least in the first 6 to 8 episodes, didn't seem to think that there was foul play, because they were just like, the odds are too high that on this random road trip she'd meet a bad guy, and it just seemed like really bad luck. But as the winner of bad luck, I feel like
she was having quite a bit of bad luck.
Yeah. So then there's a bloody knife that was given to Fred Murray.
Okay.
Yeah. In 2004, later in 2004, because she went missing in February 2004, a local man named Larry Moulton gave Fred Murray a rusted bloody knife that he claimed his brother Claude had used to kill Maura.
Wouldn't you give that to the cops, not to the dad of the missing girl?
You'd think. So Claude lived in an A-frame house near where Maura went missing. Days after Larry turned the knife over to Fred, Claude scrapped his car. Fred turned the knife over to the police, and I read one thing that said he tried to turn it over to the police, and they were like, no thanks. And he was like,
we'll have none of that.
Actually, please take this. And they finally did. They took cadaver dogs over to search the house, and the dogs hit on something in a closet, but nothing official ever came out of that lead. On that Oxygen series, they did have some wood chips that were taken from the house, and I don't think the house is there anymore. I think the wood, because they kept acting like the wood chips are the last remaining evidence that came out of this house or something. Yeah. They had them independently tested for DNA. There was blood found on them, and they got 2 DNA profiles, but they didn't have anyone's DNA to compare it to, and so that's as far as it went. But then I just kept thinking, why didn't they ask Fred for something to compare it to?
Or couldn't they even do, familial DNA?
Well, that's what I'm saying, because, even if they didn't have something of Maura's, couldn't they test, Fred? Because Fred did talk to these people. Mm-hmm. He was on their series and interviewed by them. And so I just don't understand. The whole, that whole episode, I was like, well, why can't you have, if you're doing this independently anyway, why couldn't you give them something to compare it to? Yeah. That's so, I don't know. They did turn that evidence over to the police, and the police decided to reopen Maura's case. So, without any other evidence, to me, like I said, the story about meeting the guys in the gas station and going off with them and then something bad happening seems like the most plausible story to me. Yeah. She wasn't making fantastic decisions. No. And so, if she was trying to blow off steam and she met these young guys and they were like, hey, come to a party with us, she might have just been like, all right. Yeah. No one can really figure out why she was on Route 112, because, it's a back road, and if she was going to Vermont, she was going the wrong direction, because, like, she went, as far as I can tell, just from Google Maps seeing it, she would have gone, like, straight up the interstate. Mm-hmm. And then to go to Vermont, she would have needed to turn left, but she turned right down this Route 112. And I know, like, we didn't have Siri telling us what to do at that point in time, but it just, like, why would she have turned down that road? Like,
right,
that road
weird.
didn't go anywhere. And so, if she had, like, you know, stopped at the gas station and, you know, met these guys, maybe that's why she turned to that direction. Mm-hmm. The booze she bought from the liquor store before she left Amherst, besides the box of wine, was gone. So the vodka and the Kahlua and the Baileys wasn't in her car anymore. And so that also makes me think that, like, maybe she was, like, going with these guys.
Well, I was going to say, maybe they were going, like, maybe they were following her, or she was following them, and then she got in the wreck, and then she got in the car with them. And took the booze with her.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I was thinking. And so then, remember the lady who initially called the police, told the police there's a man in the car smoking a cigarette. Mm-hmm. And she's later recanted this and said there was no man with a cigarette, that she just saw a red light and assumed it was a cigarette, but maybe it was, like, the red light on her cell phone or something. Mm-hmm. But, like, it just, like, she's very specifically told the police there's a man in the car smoking a cigarette. Mm-hmm. And so my kind of thought about that was that if there were 3 of them, that maybe one of them rode in the car with her.
Right.
The other 2 were either in front of her or behind her. Like, maybe they were in front of her and they were following, and, like, she was following them to wherever she was going.
Or maybe the one that was in the car with her was giving her directions.
But I was thinking, like, you know, and then they realized that she wrecked. They came and picked her or them up. She grabs the booze out of the car and her ID and her cell phone, thinking I'll come back and get my car, like, tomorrow or whatever. And then she's gone. Like, for whatever reason. Like, whatever may have happened after that. But, like, to me, that seems like the most plausible story, especially for a 21-year-old girl off on this, like, random road trip on her own who's not making fantastic life decisions right now. Who's making very poor 21-year-old decisions right now. So, anyway, that's my thought on it. But the last piece of this story is that, remember I told you that there had been a development this year? Mm-hmm. So they found a fingerprint on one of the CDs in her car that belongs to a guy named, I think it's Stephen. It's Steffen.
Okay.
Stephen Baldwin.
Okay.
Formerly Finkelstein. Yeah. He's a former West Point cadet. He went to West Point at the same time that Maura did. They possibly dated before she started dating Billy. He changed his last name the same year that she went missing. Mm-hmm. There was speculation that he attended the dorm party that Maura went to the weekend before she went missing. And that hasn't ever officially been corroborated. But the weird thing about the party is that none of Maura's friends will talk about it. Like, they'll admit that they were at a party, but they won't tell anybody who was there or what happened or anything about this party other than, yes, we went to a party.
You would think that people would want to help figure out what happened to this girl.
Yeah,
but...
like, even to the point where, like, they hide from people just to avoid having to talk about this. Mm-hmm. And, I was thinking about it earlier because they were like, okay, like, I don't remember, the podcast I was listening to or something was like, you know, they'll be like, well, you know, it was a big party, I don't really remember who was there. But to me, and I realize that it's been a zillion years now, 20. Like 21 years or whatever, that I don't know how to do math. Anyway.
Says the math teacher.
But if, like, sure, right now, if you said, hey, what happened to this party in May of 2004, I'd be like, I don't even know what freaking party you're talking about. But if I went to a party and 2 days later my best friend went missing, I would remember every freaking detail about that party.
Right.
I would remember who was there. I would remember who spilled what drink. I would remember everything because it would be burned into my mind because it was the last time that I spent with my best friend.
Yeah.
And so it's bizarre to me that these people are like, I don't remember. And that they're like so like tight-lipped about it. But anyway, back to Stefan. Let's see. So they'll admit there's a party. They won't. Blah blah blah. And so some people think that like something that happened at this party is a major clue about why she left on her trip in the first place. Or maybe she hit that guy and like they knew about it, but they like don't want to talk about it, and I don't know. So the Stefan guy is currently in prison for unrelated things, animal abuse and fraud charges.
Cute.
Yeah. And when he was questioned about being at the party, he claims to have never traveled to Massachusetts to visit Maura, but Maura's sister Julie found a picture of them together. And as far as the fingerprints go, there's some people that speculate that if they had been friends or dated at West Point, it's possible that he had just handled that particular CD, and so his fingerprints were still on it. But it's weird that he would deny, like, going there to see her or even just have run into her, but they took a picture together, you know? Yeah. Like, so, who knows? As far as that goes, like, that's all the information that's come out, but, I know that I did not cover everything. I probably missed a lot of information and theories, but there's so many. Like the Barney and Betty Hill thing. Yeah. Oh, there is another one that I didn't write down that's another callback. Okay. There was a point in time when people thought that Israel Keyes was responsible for her death, but I think that they've decided no.
Yeah.
At least, well, I don't know. He didn't really admit to anything anyway before he killed himself, but I don't think that that's actually a plausible theory, but it was something that, like, had been floated around for a while. And there have been a couple of other girls who have gone missing in the area, and so it could be a serial killer.
Could be.
Could be. Or it could be a poor girl who was making bad choices. And who knows. So, if you do want to learn more about this case, there's so much. The Oxygen series that I kept referencing is called The Disappearance of Maura Murray. It's led by investigative journalist Maggie Freeling and a former U.S. Marshal, Art Roderick. There's an episode of Disappeared. It's like from the first season in like 2009. The graphics are fantastic.
Yes.
The episode title is Miles to Nowhere. It was season 1, episode 6. There's, I think, a 2020 episode that's kind of about it, but it's, like, not just about her going missing. It's, like, various girls that have gone missing, I think, and so I didn't watch that one. I listened, like I said, to the podcast Red Handed, the podcast Missing Maura Murray, which is literally 150 episodes long. So they probably have some of that. I think the episode I was listening to like earlier on my drive home was from 2015. So they've been doing this for like a decade.
Yeah. So
I'm sure they have way more information. And then I did read the book True Crime Addict by James Renner. Let's see what else. If you have any information on the whereabouts of Maura Murray, you should contact the New Hampshire State Police at 603-223-3648. You can also reach out to the family directly through their website, MauraMurrayMissing.org. And then, not directly related, but on a similar note, a couple of weeks ago I got a headline suggested from NPR that read, "Police found a missing woman 60 years after she disappeared. She wants to stay hidden."
Yeah, I think I saw a headline about this woman that they found after
60 years. Yeah. So the story goes that Audrey Backberg was 20 in July 1962 when she disappeared from Reedsburg, Wisconsin. She and the family's babysitter hitchhiked to Madison and took a Greyhound to Indianapolis, and the woman said that she saw Audrey walking around the corner from the bus stop, and then they never saw her again. But then, because of familial like ancestry DNA testing, that a cold case detective found her and spoke to her, and she told him that she had her reasons for leaving and asked to keep her current whereabouts a secret. So, I mean, I guess it's possible for someone to run away and start a new life, but that was also 1962. And I'm not sure how well you can run away freely anymore with the internet and cameras everywhere. Mm-hmm. But the only thing that bothered me about Audrey's story is that it said that she was a young mother, and so I was kind of bummed. She left her kids. But I just hope she didn't leave them with an abusive father or, like, in a bad situation.
Yeah. But at the same time, there are some people who shouldn't be parents.
Yeah.
And so...
That's true. And so I thought about that too, that maybe it was better that she left. I don't know, but it just kind of made me sad.
We don't know the whole situation, but...
We don't. But anyway, so that's an hour-long episode about Maura Murray.
Yeah.
Like, when I first read it, it was like this nursing student crashed her car in New Hampshire and then disappeared.
Never seen again.
And I was like...
The end.
Okay. Yeah, there's so much. And like I said, that wasn't even all of it.
Yeah.
I know I missed stuff that I heard, and there's probably things I haven't even heard, but it's just crazy. I think the craziest thing, like we said, is that everybody's just being so light.
Yeah.
You know, and I think, like I said, one of the things that James Renner just really, like, I think struggles to understand about the family is that they don't want to talk about it.
Right.
And, like, Fred Murray will say, well, you know, like, when this happened, like, whatever happened before she went missing doesn't matter. Just go find her. Mm-hmm. And, like, on one hand, I can kind of see that. Like, stop talking about it. Just boots on the ground. Mm-hmm. Go find my daughter. But on the other hand, like, with a missing persons case, like, you have to look at what led up to it. Mm-hmm. Like, did she go missing on purpose? Yeah. Like, you know, and so, yeah, it does matter. Like, the things that happened before that matter. Because it might tell you why she was there in the first place, or where she was going, or who she was with, or what her state of mind was, or, you know, whatever. And so, I can see it both ways, but it's just crazy that... And in the meantime, I mean, there's hardly any mention of her mother, but her mother did die of cancer on Maura's birthday in 2009, actually, I think I read. And she was already sick when Maura went missing, and so she wasn't able to, like, go out and search and help. And her older sister, Kathleen, has died since then as well from cancer. But... yeah, it's just a crazy case.
Yeah, disappearances always get me. I mean, like especially ones that have never been solved.
Yeah, because there's just no end. And how does somebody just disappear off the face of the earth? Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess maybe what was it? Something reticuli.
Yeah, I know. I was like, it's something reticuli. What is it, though?
Something with a Z. I don't know. But anyway, maybe they came and got her. But,
quite possibly.
Yeah. So, anyway, what else?
I don't think there is anything else.
Oh. Cool.
I have nothing important to add today. Not that I ever do, but...
you have the most important things.
I have a little bit of a headache, and I'm gonna go watch some Hallmark movies and go to bed.
I'm gonna go take a shower and go to bed, since I have to go watch Stinky Kids graduate high school tomorrow. I mean, I have to give them some finals first. Not those ones specifically, but...
I guess you're gonna do this, and then you're gonna do that.
You could deal with this, or you could deal with that. Yeah. So anyway, that is it. You can find us on social media at Twisted and Mysterious, or email us at twistedandmysteriousPodcast@gmail.com. Hey, I said it right the first time.
Ooh, great job.
I know. And...
yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go forth.
So, as always, remember that people are gross and don't get murdered.
Don't get in the car with strangers.
Don't. It's never a good idea.
Never. All right. Goodbye.
Bye.